Traded my old whip for a new one. Can't nobody hold me down. Every time my ex come around, I be hitting that puss, I be hitting that puss, you know. I be hitting that puss, I be hitting that puss, I be hitting that puss, you know. I be hitting that puss, you know.
Hit it in the morning, baby, hit it in the evening. Next bitch mad cause I'm leaving. New bitch pull up like you cuffing this season. Exactly how I play it, I don't never give them reasons. Young Asian. Mac 'em like Dre doing the.
How's it going, everyone? Sean here from Raw Technique Studios. This is a free mix from December. It's a late post, but this is from the song Hittin' That, and it's by Lozoya, Mike-E, and produced by Zay Beats. So this song, it's out on iTunes and everything now, so I'll have a link to the full song. You guys could check it out. But let's jump in and see the process of some of the things. And instead of like my other free mix videos, I'm going to explain a couple other things. I'm going to try to explain some of the effects used instead of just the basic vocal chain like always. So with this one, it's a very large session. So you can see if I flip over to the mix window, there's several tracks that were being worked on here. It's a tracked out beat as well as multiple vocals. So what I had to do to conserve some of the CPU is print my tracks. And I've gone over this in other videos, but just a quick way to save CPU is to print your tracks. So if you have a bunch of plugins, especially tuning plugins, anything that takes up a lot of power, it's best to print so then your computer could stay fast. So on this track here, this is the original vocal, and I had all my plugins on here, and it was taking up a lot of CPU, so I had to print the track. So you can see here I have a print of his verse, and all you do is make the output of the original track to a bus that's free, and then the input of an empty audio track to a bus that's free. And as you can see here, this is a mono track, so I created a mono audio track to print from this one to the new one. So when I printed, all of these plugins are now being processed onto this track. So if I solo this out,
money, I ain't hear nada. Bitches by the dozen when I got a lot of.
So it has all of the vocal chain on here. Now I also have all of my sends on here as well. So if I take off the sends,
money, I ain't hear nada. Bitches by the dozen when I got a lot of. I just catch them off the board.
Alright, so that's without any of the effects. You could hear a little bit of reverb on the track still, because in my mastering chain I use just a tiny bit of reverb just to make the overall sound have a little bit more space to it. What we did then was messed with a stereo and a mono reverb. So let me show you the difference between that. I'm gonna mute out that reverb so you don't hear it. So here's just the track.
If it ain't money, I ain't hear nada. Bitches by the dozen when I got a lot of.
Alright, so that's all the effects as far as like de-essing, reverb, de-essing, EQ, compression, tuning, all that stuff. I got that sound right, and then I wanted to add in some effects. So here's the stereo reverb. I'm putting in quite a bit of it, and that's going to be coming through on this track here.
If it ain't money, I ain't hear nada. Bitches by the dozen when I got a lot of. I just catch them off the board like a rebound.
Alright, so you notice that it's a wider reverb compared to the mono reverb, which is this one.
If it ain't money, I ain't hear nada. Bitches by the dozen when I got a lot of.
So that reverb is in the center. So if you want a reverb that's just behind the vocal, it's just right there in the middle, then you do a mono reverb. If you want a wide reverb, then you could do a stereo reverb.
If it ain't money, I ain't hear nada.
And that'll fill up the full stereo field with reverb. So I used a little bit of both on this one, a little tiny bit of mono reverb, and then a little bit more of the stereo reverb. Another thing that we did was put on some lo-fi. So let's take a listen to that. That's going to be coming through here.
If it ain't money, I ain't hearing nada. Bitches by the dozen when I got a lotta. I just catch 'em off the board like a rebound.
Alright, so you can see here that it fattens it up a little bit and pushes the highs a little bit as well. So let me just show you what I did here. With the lo-fi, took off a little bit on the sample rate, brought this over to about 45%, and then pushed up the saturation to 5.8, and then just blended it. So you can see here that I'm blending in minus 17.1. To make it a little bit fatter, I used this enhancer on the same lo-fi aux input, and you can see that I didn't do anything on the high gain. It's all low gain that's being pushed up, so that makes the vocal sound fat. So take a listen without it. Here, I'm gonna take off these reverbs as well.
I just catch 'em off the board like a rebound.
And here's with the lo-fi.
I just catch 'em off the board like a rebound. Too much snagging, you gon' get the boot now. Fingers twisted, yelling out west side.
Alright, so it just makes it a little bit fatter and pushes it forward. The exciter, let's take a listen to that. That's this one down here. Here's with it off.
I just catch 'em off the board like a rebound.
And with it on.
I just catch 'em off the board like a rebound. Too much.
So you can notice that it's pushing the highs. It's just making it a little bit more clear. So when we put all those together,
I just catch 'em off the board like a rebound. Too much snagging, you gon' get the boot now.
So depending on the song, you might want more or less reverb. Typically I wouldn't do that much reverb, but it fit the song, so that's why we went with the heavy reverb. And that's about it for the main vocal and the main singing part. So you can see here I have another de-esser on here, and that's just to tame anything that was coming through, because I put a lot of high-end information getting pushed in there. So I have multiple EQs, air kill EQ, lo-fi, and enhancer, everything just pushing the highs, and that's why it has that really like saturated, crunchy sound to the vocal. But it's also adding a little bit too much harshness, so I de-essed it again on the printed track just to tame any the really high end coming through. Alright, so that's it for the main vocal. Just getting it to sound really crunchy and then throwing the reverb and everything on there. Delay, let's see what I have here.
Bitches by the dozen when I got a lotta. I just catch 'em off the board like a rebound. Too much snagging, you gon' get the boot now. Fingers twisted, yelling out west side. But the
Alright, let me bring my delay up here so we could take a look at it. Alright, so we're also throwing in a ping pong delay. This one I'm using Echo Boy, and you can see that I'm setting it to the tempo of the song, which was 93, adding a little bit of saturation in there, and then doing a ping pong with quarter notes. So if we take a listen, I'll mute out everything except the delay.
bitches by the dozen when I got a lotta. I just catch 'em off the board like a rebound. Too much snagging, you gon' get the boot now. Fingers twisted, yelling out west side. But the kitty straight to.
Right. So you can see it's bouncing back, left, right, and it has a little bit of feedback, so it's repeating as well. So that's an idea, to just make something a little bit more active, make it sound a little bit more interesting. The problem is if you add too much, then it clutters the center information. You don't want to take away from the center information by adding too much delay to the sides. So you just have to add it in a little bit to make it more of a feeling instead of really hearing it. So it's just barely in there, barely present. So when I mix it in with everything, I don't think that's anything, but
bitches by the dozen when I got a lotta. I just catch 'em off the board like a rebound. Too much snagging, you gon' get the boot now. Fingers twisted, yelling out west side. But the kitty straight.
alright, so it doesn't really stand out, but you could hear it, you notice it, and it's not taking away from the center information of the main vocal. Alright, so that's how I use my ping pong delay on here. And that's it for the main singing part. That was the main part that took the longest to really get the right sound. You can see here I have an inactive plugin. I ended up not using it, but let me show you what it is. So I was experimenting with this SPL twin tube processor that I got from Plugin Alliance, and it just kind of added a little bit too much on the harmonics, the saturation. Ended up just not going with it because I didn't need it. So that's one thing when you're going through mixing a track. You could experiment with plugins, you could experiment with trying different things, pushing things to the boundary, but then realize sometimes it doesn't work, so you could just take it off. You don't always have to stick with what you did. You could always backtrack. So that's it for this song. That was the main part. The only other part that was really a main thing was these verses here.
Man, cause I'm leaving. New bitch pull up like you cuffing this season. Exactly how I play it, I don't never give them reasons. Young Have.
Alright, so I just have a little bit of delay information drawn in here. But other than that, it's just a standard vocal chain like I've done on several videos before. Let's just take a look at some of the mastering chain for the reverb, which I use every now and then on a song. More so not than anything, but every now and then I'll throw this on. On this one I'm using a plate, cutting off the high end, and you can see here on the mix I'm only putting 10% in of reverb. So here it is with it.
Man, cause I'm leaving. New bitch pull up like you cuffing this season. Exactly how I play it, I don't never give them.
And without it.
Man, cause I'm leaving. New bitch pull up like you cuffing this season.
Alright, so it just depends on the sound you want. If you want it to have more of like an overall reverb sound, an overall softening sound, bringing everything together, then you just add a tiny bit of reverb in there and it kind of brings it all together. If you want a more dry in-your-face sound, then you would take the reverb off, or you wouldn't ever put it on, and it would be a more typical in-your-face sound. So listen how here's without it, it's just in your face and everything's dry.
Man, cause I'm leaving. New bitch pull up like you cuffing this season. Exactly how I play.
And then with it.
Man, cause I'm leaving. New bitch pull up like you cuffing this season. Exactly how I play it, I don't never.
Notice how it softens everything. It's not as pushed into your face. It's more overall. Everything's just together with that reverb sound. So that's what I ended up going with on this song. I felt like it fit it, but it could go either way, just depending on the song and the artist, what they want. Okay, so that's it for this song. It's Hittin' That, J Lozoya, Mike-E, and Zay Beats. I'm going to have a link to it below. I also made a R&B and hip-hop, or R&B and rap template based on this song. So if you want to have these same effects and same processing, just throw your vocals in there, do a couple tweaks to make it fit, then I'll have that link below as well. You can check that out. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.